no one or nothing can distance you from his love. And the good news is you cannot distance the love that God has for you. And this is because the love of God is not predicated on what we do or what we fail to do. The love of Christ will always remain. He says in Jeremiah 31:3, he says, I have loved thee with an everlasting love. And since the love of God is everlasting, there is nothing I can do that will cause God not to love me. And Paul uses this term. He uses the term, the love of Christ. He says the love of Christ does not mean, my brothers and sisters, my love for Christ. Paul used the term. He says the love of Christ, which means it's the love of Christ, and it does not mean my love for Christ. Paul uses the term the love of Christ, but Christ, you must understand, it does not mean my love for him. It means his love for me. It's because of his love for us. He holds us when our backs are against the wall. Let me back up just a little bit. Paul uses the term the love of Christ, and the love of Christ does not mean my love for him. It means his love for me. I told you I'm going somewhere. It does not suggest in no way that God's love can change based on how I act. For God's love is eternal. Matter of fact, when I can't see my way, I still experience the love of Christ. Paul uses the term. I'm going somewhere. I'm not trying to be redundant. I'm trying to help us to see and to appreciate the love of God as recorded by Paul, because Christ, he loves us. The love of Christ is the love. It does not predicate on my love for him. He loves me in spite of me. And I can prove to you that when my back is against the wall, that he still loves me even when I really don't have him in mind. I can prove to you that he holds us together. When you look back over all that you've been through, statistics say you should have lost your mind. Please don't get it twisted. It's because of the love of God. He keeps giving us what we do not deserve. He's able to keep us when we can't even keep ourselves. And I gotta know, since to realize it's not because of who I think I am. It is because of the love of God. I need to back up because I don't want to lose anyone. Paul uses this term. It's the love of Christ. The love of Christ does not mean my love for him. You got to understand what I'm saying. I'm saying that he loves us in spite of my lovelessness to him. Y'all got to help me in here, because he loves us, so I can't get it twisted. He loves me. It's not predicated on what I do. Matter of fact, I do it because he loved me. I ain't doing it trying to gain his love, because his love is secure in itself, and because he loves me, nothing can change the love that God has for his people. And I am a living witness that it's the love of God that would not allow my persecutions and my trials and tribulations. It would not allow the storm to take me out because of his love. And his love qualifies me to be a storm survivor. I'm going somewhere. I may get disappointed, but I'm still here based on the love of God. I might get disenchanted, but I'm still here, not because of anything else, but it's the love of God. I may get dismayed, but I'm still here because of the love of God. I may get disappointed and dissatisfied and disheartened, but I'm still here because his love is on you and me. And you've got to understand, my brothers and sisters, I've got tears to prove it. I've got stars to substantiate it. I got plenty of tests that created my testimony. Paul is arguing that the hardships of life help us to realize and to recognize it's the love that God God has for us. So the question is not who shall separate the love of Christ from us. The question is not who shall prevent Christ from loving us. The question is who shall separate us. Oh God, I wish I could preach this thing like I feel it. I was just ready. The question is not the love of Christ for us. It's not who shall prevent Christ from loving us. The question is who shall separate us from the love of Christ, and not who shall separate the love of Christ from us. Come on, work boy, you need to bring that back one more time. You got to read the text. Who shall separate us from the love of Christ? I feel like preaching, Mother Ellen. I want to know who shall separate us from the love of Christ, and not who shall separate the love of Christ from us. Y'all just miss it. I know I was on this so much too, but you got to understand, Paul is arguing who or what shall be able to remove our affection from him. Y'all lean over and tell your neighbor, I know he's right. Let me put it like this. What is allowing you to separate yourself from the love of Christ? Because Christ will not separate himself from you. Notice Paul raises tribulation. He raises distress. He raises persecution. He raises famine. He raises nakedness, peril, or sword. Paul wants to know what will separate you from the love of Christ. The apostle enumerates that there are things that can separate us, but there is nothing that can separate him from loving us. Y'all trying to make me work hard this morning, but I wish I had a witness in here that know there is nothing you can do that will cause the Lord not to love you. But the record is that there are some things in life that will come into all of our territory, will come into all of our space, that will cause us to question the love of God. Oh God, if I'm saved and I love you, then why I got to go through all of this? I wish I had some help up in here. But let me breathe life in somebody's spirit and announce that there is not enough hell that you can go through that will cause the love of God to separate himself from you. Oh, that's shouting music right there. I know it's rough, but he's still there. I know it's tough, but he's still there. So the apostle gets happy and he raises some more stuff that can separate us. Notice now, you can't get separated from him. I wish I had some help in here. There is nothing you can do that will allow him to separate himself from you. But the apostle gets happy and he raises some stuff. He talks about some stuff that has a way of getting on the inside of us that will cause us to separate ourselves from him. Oh, you got to understand, he raises tribulation, which is grievous afflictions or distress of any kind. He raises distress, which is more intense, signifying being hemmed in on every side. There is the possibility of getting out or escaping. He says persecution, which means to pursue, to press upon, or prosecute. This signifies the enemy is pursuing you in order to destroy you. He raises famine, which means to fail, to be in total want of bread and all the necessities of life. He raises nakedness, which means to be absolutely without clothing, having limbs of being totally unclothed. He says pearl, which is a state. Somebody says state. Somebody says state. It's a state of extreme and continued danger, perplexing and distressing, with grievous fears and alarms. Lastly, he stated sword, which is slaughter, the total destruction of life. And as I continue to read the text, the lifeline comes in verse number 37. He says in verse number 35, he raises the question question, who shall separate us from the love of Christ? Shall tribulation or distress or persecution or famine or nakedness or peril or sword? The record is every day of our lives, you and I are counted sheep as the slaughter. Every day of our lives, we got to give up the right sometimes for the wrong. Every day of our lives, we got to take a licking and keep on ticking. You understand? I've been counted sheep for the slaughter. I know they out to get me. I know they out to kill me. But I'm going to take a stand. I know tribulations is out to take me out. And distress is out to get me. And persecution is on my trail. Famine is on my back. Nakedness is on my corner. Pearl is on my right. Swirl is on my left. But I'll stop by to tell somebody that the lifeline comes in verse number 37. I want to bless you for a few moments and give you an opportunity to preach. I want you to discover. I want you to announce. I want you to herald. I want you to tell the person next to you, nay, in all these things, we are more than conquerors. You got the wrong neighbor. You ought to tell him in